Looking back on it, I should have known that this would be the boat from hell. I should have known it was a magnet for storms and death and all kinds of trouble. And I should have known that guy who sold it to me, the one who told me to pay cash, delivered in $20 bills to some backwater dive in Atlantic City, I should have known that he and that boat were drug runners. But I didn't see any of that. This was 30 years ago. I was 20-something, and all I saw was the boat of my dreams at a price I couldn't believe and a motivated seller who wanted a quick deal by Friday. So I did what any upstanding guy would do in that situation. I did what any guy who had been raised reading Melville and Conrad and Slocum would do in that situation. I did what any guy who had been idolizing Robin Lee Graham, that 16-year-old hero who had just sailed around the world, wrote about it in the slick pages of National Geographic and set us all free from that anonymous monotony of our suburban lives would do in that situation. I got the cash. Not all at once, pieced it together, went to multiple bank branches, never took out more than $1,000 from any one branch. I don't know why. I'd seen it done that way in the movies. And I got to tell you, there's nothing illegal about buying a boat for cash. But it does raise some questions about who you're dealing with. It should raise some questions about who you're dealing with. But I didn't think about that. I was 24. I didn't ask questions. I was going for it. In fairness, it wasn't just the boat that was luring me into that quicksand. There was this pair of binoculars. And I know that sounds crazy, but I had never seen anything like it. When I went to look at the boat, they were there on the galley table. The most amazing binoculars I had ever seen, military grade, big lenses for night vision. They were Navy issue, rubber-coated, waterproof, and I just had this feeling if I had those binoculars that I too could sail around the world. The owner saw me looking at those binoculars. He went for the jugular. He said, "You know, if you buy this boat, I'll throw in those binoculars. But you got to pay cash, and it's got to be by Friday." I said, "Cash?" He said, "Yeah, 20s. In my business, we pay cash." And I know that should have raised a red flag, but I didn't ask any questions. I just said, "I will see you Friday." Friday comes, the deal goes down, backwater dive, Atlantic City. Next morning, I drive to the boat. First time stepping on board as an owner, but something's horribly wrong. That hatch to the lower decks is smashed, locks on the floor. Down below decks, it's been ransacked. Floorboards pried up, walls pried open. But what really ticked me off was those binoculars were gone. And that guy who sold me the boat, let's just call him Bob, I called him up. And I said, "Bob, I am mad as hell. That might have been a mistake." I said, "I'm mad as hell, and I want those binoculars." There was silence on the phone. And Bob said, "You know what? I've got those binoculars. I'm going to put them in a box, and I am going to drop them off at the marina in the office with Gabe." Tuesday, call Gabe. "Gabe, did Bob leave a package for me?" "Nothing." Wednesday, call Gabe. "Gabe, did Bob make the drop? Because I really need that delivery." Nothing. Thursday, I call Gabe. Gabe says, "Do not ever call me again about that box. Because this morning there were two guys here asking all kinds of questions about you and Bob and that boat that you just bought and the package that you're looking for." And at that moment, there's a knock on my door. Two guys, dark suits, dark glasses. Tall one hands me a card. Special Agent Xavier Cunningham, U.S. Customs Drug Enforcement. Now, there comes a time in every real adventure that you start to wish that you weren't really there. That you start to think that this is not a game, that this might not have such a good ending. And this was that moment. I kind of went blank. I didn't know what to do. I froze. I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, but there I was, Special Agent Xavier Cunningham looking at me, and I said, I am going to tell you everything I know. I am going to sing like a canary. And I told him about that bank and that cash and that backwater dive. Special Agent Cunningham knew all about that bank and that cash and that backwater dive. I told him about Bob and the boat and the phone number, and he knew Bob and he knew the boat and that phone number, and they were all under investigation. But when he closed his notebook, I started to think, I don't want this adventure to end now. There's got to be more, you know? There's got to be like a lineup, a perp walk. I mean, isn't there a witness protection program I got to be in now? I don't want this adventure to end. But he left and I was free, and it was a big letdown. And you know, I started to think that part of this whole boat thing was the adventure of it. You know, I mean, isn't that what we crave? That flirt with danger? Isn't that why boys want to go to sea? To feel something bigger than themselves? To feel a chance to feel our strength. Well, that boat was jinxed forever. It was a magnet for all kinds of bad things. Lightning, storms, dead bodies, and that's a whole other story that I'll tell you about someday. But I was never so relieved as the day I sold that boat. Sold it for a song. I just wanted it out of my life. And when that deal was going down, there was a point when that new lucky owner said to me, how do you want me to pay? I looked at him, and it all just flashed back. The cash, the banks, Xavier Cunningham, that backwater dive in Atlantic City. And I just said, you know what? Just write me a check. I think you're good for it. Thank you very much.